Hey guys, Darius here. So this is a match of some Chad Cleave, aka Prot Paladin, Resto Shaman, Death Knight, into some Shadow Priest, Mage, Resto Shaman. So this is kind of a spell cleave into Chad Cleave. And the game, for the most part, strategically doesn't go that well, but there is one aspect of it that I think is pretty instructive overall in terms of just psychology, not giving up, and just knowing how to, like I said, there's a lot of value in playing things like 2 DPS as a DK, and I have some guides posted, and I have a Discord available that has some specializations and kind of a different approach fundamentally to the Death Knight gameplay, and you can kind of see it in action here. A lot of the benefits that I've derived from playing 2 DPS and being so self-reliant for so long can absolutely be applied in a game like this. So for the most part, I'm going to let this one play out, but I'll briefly interject and comment on occasion. So we're getting started with just we kind of we actually did a bad strategy overall on this one. I think that we actually want to ride out that shaman, but we instead decided to kind of beat up that shadow priest, which I don't think it was the best idea, specifically because it makes it a lot easier for him to land double fears since we're chasing him and he can kind of control our positioning rather than if we're chasing the shaman around and the mage and the shadow priest are desperately trying to peel for him rather than just being able to pump. So right there I get faked. That's not great, but I was going to recommit back onto the shadow priest anyways. They have lust, so we're under a little bit of pressure here. They get me into a poly. Cage Rule comes around to give me a nice dispel. We're chilling, but this isn't a great position. They've got lust. They've got us all pushed in together. They've got a nice blizzard on us, even for the damage, but also just for the frostbite procs. This is pretty dangerous. So they're really going to set us up here, I think, and put us into some punishing CC just because of how limiting our position is. But if they feed you a water elemental like that, water elementals, especially in twos against a mage, really go out of your way to beat that thing up. It's pretty easy to kill if you're standing right on top of it, and it's definitely worth your time. Those freezes are pretty brutal, and they are really, really required by mages to get that kill pressure quite often. So in this point, my paladins has Blessing of Sack running, but unfortunately my shaman's in a sheep. I think they're going to put some CC into the paladin as well, or maybe he got feared earlier. I think he trinked it, but basically they're setting up pretty heavy on me. But I have enough cooldowns that I'm fine. I popped my Lichborn, I popped my AMZ, I tanked most of their burst, and I'm gonna go ahead and actually let them cast all their dots and stuff into me because I have my AMS coming up soon, and I'm going to use that runic power against them. So now it's time, even though they were bullying me just a second ago, now it's my turn for a bit. So we're chasing them down, we're beating them up, but somehow that mage just completely decimated Cage Roll. That's not good because once Cage Roll is vulnerable, once he has no bubble, that's not good for us. We really want him to keep that up. So at this point, we get the bubble. We don't really have that much pressure, but luckily inside of that bubble, was able to keep me out of these polymorphs really well. So, the second these polymorphs are landing on me, he's just instantly dispelling, which is very good by him. We're connecting on the Shadow Priest. At this point, I'm realizing, hey, maybe the Shadow Priest wasn't such a great idea. When he gets a Earth Shield and he has all of his stuff and he has his own little self heals to use at all times, he's pretty durable. So even though we come quite close to killing him at this point, it still doesn't feel like enough, and I'm reconsidering our strategy for future games at this point in the fight. But we commit, and it's not looking good for us at this point. Cage Rule's really really low. He's almost completely tapped on mana because he let his plea fall. That's kind of the downside to Prot Paladin. If you try to pull back and you don't hit something to refresh your plea duration, you go like this very quickly versus a comp that really incentivizes you to spam cleanses. So I know the mage is doing most of the damage to him, so I get on the mage for a bit to stop some damage. But unfortunately, Cage Rule is just really, really not in a great spot. But at the same time, the Shadow Priest is completely tapped, so if we can live through this, we can actually recover to some extent. So I don't want him to get any mana, so I instantly kick that Hymn of Hope. uh, Shadow Priest gets real low, but once again, kind of the flaw in our strategy there in that the priest can kind of land these fears at will. I don't recommend versus this matchup going anything but the rest of Shaman. That's what I learned. But that's not this part of the gameplay isn't really the main main aspect of the game that I wanted to show you. So we'll just let this play out. I think they're going to end up killing Cage. I made a swap to the Shaman. I actually made a mistake swapping to the Shaman. I think I should have gone the Mage here. Because the Shaman was so he wouldn't have been able to keep the Mage up, nor swap Sacred Shield. And if the Mage isn't up, and the Priest is and the Shaman's or if the Mage isn't free casting and the Priest is and the Shaman's well, at that point we just win. So Cage goes down here, but I'm looking at the situation. It's not over, and don't give up. Don't leave the game. I see a lot of people leave these games, and sometimes they're my opponents, and I'm really happy when they do because I was done. I've won games that we get a cross kill and they just leave immediately. They don't even realize they just leave out of frustration. It's not worth it. There's no emotional stability is just as important as any mechanical advantage you develop. So here I grip this poly. I don't want to let him get the poly on me. I need to stop the polys. So I lich more and also out of it. I really want to get the pressure out now while I have them really low on mana. But unfortunately, they're able to swap that Earth Shield, and he gets the Ice Barrier. So even though he's he's quite tanky. I thought I could get the kick there. I couldn't, so it didn't work out for me. I should have AMS'd. I was a little bit greedy with my AMS, but it is what it is. You know, can't. I'm under a little bit of pressure here, so I'm not making ideal plays. Same thing. He sheared at the same time I mind freeze, so couldn't protect my ghoul there. But he just runs away. The priest runs off to go just kind of set up on me. I think the shaman wants to go for a drink if he can, but they're doing okay here. So we just continue to ride him out. I got some AMS. I got some pressure. He's nice and I can break his shield. One thing, you want to break those ice barriers with your AMS up, because anytime you break an ice barrier off a mage, it AoE roots everything around you. So it's a free Nova for him, but if you can break his shield within that time frame, you really want to get that off. So I don't want him to land that poly, but I want to keep pressuring this mage because the mage is the biggest source of damage. I can tank the Shadow Priest damage all day, uh, especially with the Resto Shaman, right? With the Earth Shield, with my cooldowns, it's only going to be when that mage connects to me that I know I'm in trouble. And so here they have kind of an opportunity to connect. They have Willerton's, my Shaman, he was just in a full 10-second hex into a nice 5-second deep freeze. So he's not having a great time, but I'm okay. I still have my cooldowns. I can play around them. So at this point, I see that they're really going to get some setup on me. So I AMS all that burst, and I use it against him. I just throw it right back in his face. I bonk him. I think he goes ahead, and let's see. I might be getting ahead of myself. My apologies. So yeah, I want to stop that drink. I did get a death coil on the Shadow Priest who was drinking out in the open, so he runs off. It's real hard when there's 3 people. They're all able to root and CC you, and you got to stop drinks on everyone. But I'm doing the best I can. I want to see if I can stop the Shadow Priest, and I also want to stop that Shaman. A little trick when D&Ding around pillars. The reason I have to go all the way, you have to put that little circle in the center around the pillar, or else it's not going to work. That's a subtle difference from private servers. That's just how the Blizzard AOE script is working. So just keep that in mind. If you pull the trigger too early on your D&Ds, it's not going to stop the drink, and you're not going to be happy. So at this point, I trink that poly because I don't want to be just trapped in CC forever, and I need to make sure that this mage isn't allowed to drink or get an evocate off. This was a misplay by me here. I Lichborned out of frustration in my mind. I just totally forgot that I was playing with a shaman who could just get me right out of the fear. So this was a big mistake. But hey, mistakes happen. Like I said, I'm under a little bit of pressure here, just in this 2v3, trying to manage as many things as I am. So that's just unfortunate. But I continue to say that things are working. And anytime they're using their mana offensively, they're not able to use it defensively. So it puts them in a bad position, and it really enables me to turn what is a 2v3 into more of a 2v2 with just kind of a mobile punching bag for a mage. So at this point, we're not in a great spot. He lands that poly on me. I should have had Lichborn for that poly. I regretted using my Lichborn so aggressively, especially when the Shaman was free to dispel me. But like I said, things happen. So he's getting the evocate. We want to stop that. We're both chasing him down. Willerton's managed to get the shear. I get the gnaw on him. If he just blinked away right there, I would have scripted him right back. I should have kicked this Shackle Undead, but as I said, under a little bit of pressure, and they full CS the Garg anyways, so it wasn't such a big deal. Now they have some mana though. Now they have me in some CC. I can't really get out of it, so they're gonna set up on me here, and I know it's coming. And So yeah, right as they, I knew, I knew it was coming. I knew they were coming for me. So I got that IBF up right before they got that silence, and this is what saves my butt because if they chain two silences into me like this, it doesn't matter what my shaman casts when I have a full row of dots on me, I'm donezo. So between that silence and the blanket CS, I'm okay because I still have my AMZ. So I'm just able to AMZ the rest of this burst and continue to ride out this mage who's now going for a mana gem conjuration. So he goes for the poly here. I try to kick it before he blinks, but he blinks away instead. I grip him in, but he has his ice barrier, so it roots me. No bueno. He's going to be able to get his mana gem off, but hey, what can do? You have a limit to how much you can deal with at once, just as a in a 2v3. So we want to keep pressing though. It's not over yet. Doesn't look great at this point, but you know, go for it. Never give up. If you give up, then your enemy wins, and you don't want your enemy to win. So, all right, we continue to chase. I really just know that I can't leave that mage free. He wants to keep getting away from me, getting some mana, getting me into CC, and getting me a full setup. He's a little bit vulnerable here. I broke his shield, so I pop him power rune weapon. I grab him into a gnaw. I'm blasting as much as I can. I was trying to go for an explode here, but I couldn't get it off, and he got healed anyways. So it was close to an execute range at that point, but it didn't work out, unfortunately. So I trinked that first poly. They put a full row of dots on me, but I'm okay here, or am I? So at this point, this is when those two DPS survival skills come in handy, right? This is at the point where they've got all of them have enough. We're no longer looking at a bunch of tapped. This isn't a 2v3 with a bunch of tapped wizards. This is a full blast. They're gonna beat me up. Luckily, my shaman still has nature swiftness, or I'd be donezo here. But on top of that, had I not been so creative with the opportunities available for me to survive, I'd be dead as well. So I'm looking at this water elemental. I'm silenced. They got a full row of dots on me. I'm rooted, but there is a water elemental right next to me. Unfortunately, you can't put two dots on the water elemental. You can't. You can only put plague strike and or blood plague rather and Ebon Plaguebringer on it. But you can still put two dots on him and death strike it for 10% of your HP each time. So while my shaman's struggling to keep me up and I have a full row of dots and silences, I have something I can do. So I never stop taking into consideration the things that I have available. So I managed to stop that poly on me, or either me or the shaman, so I can continue to stay offensive. And here, once again, I have a full row of dots, but they've blown all their mana into me. And I still have my AMS coming up, and I also have my Lichborn. So I'm using my Lichborn to self-heal. You can see every second or so, I'm healing myself for 1.5k, and I now can use their own damage against them with my AMS. So I can continue to generate runic power and heal myself in this scenario. So I'm still managing to pressure this mage. I force his block. In the meantime, I'm going to get those mirrors. Like I said, especially a great pro tip in general versus mages, you want to get those pets down. Without the mage's zoo, like people don't really take it into consideration, but if the mage doesn't have his zoo, he's a lot less dangerous. And people don't, in my experience, they don't really go out of their way to kill those pets as often as I think they should. So I'm continuing down to chase down this mage. He's nice and he's going to get away well, though, but he's got a short root on me, so I can kind of come around this other side and grip him nice and far away from his healer. So he's in a lot of trouble here. He's got his shield. He fakes my kick, but then he doesn't fake the shear. And because he doesn't fake the shear, he gets locked in poly, which means he can't blink, which means I can catch him in a full gnaw, and I can tee off on him. And outside of teeing off on him, I can get a new AMS up, which means I can block that. Even if he gets a new ice barrier, I can stop the Nova on him. So he blinks away at this point. My shaman, who wisely when engineering has rocket gloves, we time it. He uses his rocket gloves and a frost shock. I use a last second coil, and we delete him from the game. And there we go. So that's how you can win. Like I said, never give up. That situation seemed hopeless many times, and I didn't even have to play perfectly. I'd made a couple mistakes. I would have played things better had I had the opportunity to redo it, but things still worked out. So, psychologically, people make fun of those little tryhards. People are like, "Oh, look at this guy. He's still trying." But I always try. I try every single game because you never know. You never know when that is all that there is between you and a victory. Just deciding not to give up is is a big aspect of anyone who's ever done anything involved in fighting. knows that psychology is half the battle when it comes to a fight. Obviously there's limitations and some things are just lost, but if you see any opportunity to go for something, make sure you take it. And even if you can't win or even if you don't win, there's still a lot of experience to be gained in terms of, you know, managing your cooldowns under pressure and getting practice in and dealing with things and considering and continuing to gain experience from the fight, both in terms of practicing your positioning and dealing with enemy cooldowns. So to me, I never give up. Some people, I'm sure they can make fun of me for it, but sometimes I do things like this, and the times that I do it's well worth it. So I hope this was valuable for you, and I will see you guys here in the next one. Thanks so much.